covered in ashes when they left me bleeding. Is rise of the phoenix, forever succeeding. I'm keeping on grinding, my energy's rising. Transitional crashes no longer surprising. I gave it to source, the old me is dead. Destroying all curses, I live by the bread. I'm holding my head up, I'm standing my ground. The empress arrived, the loss has been found.
Vibe gang gang gang, what it do? It's your girl Empress Free, busting at you on the mic, sending you love and light wherever you are in the sector of your universe. Welcome y'all to another episode of Let's Talk Baby. Today I am here with Mr. Terrance Roberts. What up, dude?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Born and raised in Denver, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Honor roll student, ended up joining the local gang back in the day. I grew up in the Park Hill area. Okay. Went to prison, wanted to change my life, get involved with activism, and I'm still learning and growing in that passion. I got out of prison. I started an after-school program, which really grew exponentially. Then we got into gang violence prevention after that because a lot of our kids, their parents or them were joining gangs. Started winning awards for that. We started really doing a lot of peace movements. We started the Colorado Camo movement, where we were wearing camouflage because of a trip that I took to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, where the activists were wearing camouflage. And we had a lot of Black and Latino kids in my program. And since the camouflage had the black and brown in it, the kids decided to wear the camouflage. So we started the Colorado Camouflage movement. And then we also started the Heal the Hood movement, where we were just working with different activists, rappers, actors, whoever wanted to get involved, with all of us working together. And we called that the Heal the Hood movement. Okay. So, spearheaded both of those movements, really worked around the Elijah McClain homicide, and it was a homicide. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Alexis Mendez-Perez, different victims of police brutality. We drafted Senate Bill 217. We got that passed. House Bill 1250 was born off of Senate Bill 217. And we also got a no-knock raid banned in Aurora, Colorado, which is still, I think, one of probably the most racist police departments in the United States, right here in the Denver metro area. So we've been doing a lot of work. We did over 40 protests and actions in 2019 and 2020 for those laws to be passed. I was arrested then, as well as also arrested in 2013, back 10 years ago, because I had a self-defense case where we have a book and a film called The Holly. And The Holly is, the book has won several awards. It won Colorado Book of the Year. It won the High Plains Award, which is for this section of America going all the way through up to Canada, from I think maybe Vegas to St. Louis. I don't know really the boundaries, but it goes all the way north up into Canada. So it's a pretty huge award. And the film has won the Santa Fe Film Festival. We won the Tell You Right Film Festival. Not Tell You Right Film Festival, the Mountain Film Festival in Tell You Right. Okay. And we also last year won the Denver Film Festival for Audience Choice.
Congratulations. So
yeah, we're just working. I'm just a local kid who's grown up and trying to do international stuff, but keep it here in my city and not move to LA with it, or Atlanta or Houston, but work with people in those hubs. But really, I'm keeping it here because my babies are here and I love the city. Right. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, we appreciate it. Also, the film, The Holly, the documentary film, is available on Tubi. So for those of you that have not seen it, please go out and watch.
Yes, it's free on Tubi. It's also on Amazon Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, it's also on Apple TV. So hopefully we get it on national PBS too. That's really what I'm trying to get it on, is national PBS. But it's on those platforms, so check it out. I also ran for mayor too. I didn't mention.
Yes.
Excuse me.
For Denver. Okay.
But I lost, of course. I'm not the mayor right now. I probably would not be sitting here. I'll probably be busy somewhere. But we ran a great campaign, and they're right now implementing our housing platform for a housing first versus tiny homes. So we're proud of that too. But yeah.
Congratulations. And still, it takes a lot for you to just go ahead and just, what inspired you, let me just ask, to start running for mayor? What prompted you to do that?
Well, because I hit a pinnacle with my activism. Getting laws passed in 2020 and 10,000 people downtown, I'm wearing camouflage and baseball caps and all of that is great for those moments, but you can't sustain that forever. It costs a lot of money. It's dangerous. And we got our objectives. We got as much justice as we could for Elijah McClain. We raised millions of dollars for his mother and his family. We got those laws passed. We got the paramedics and the police arrested. One paramedic just got 5 years yesterday.
Yeah.
So we were able to do all those things. And I knew that we had this election coming up, and I knew some of the people who were going to run for mayor have said nothing about women of color being murdered in Denver's metro area. I'm the only activist who has a voice. There's so many leaders in Denver, urban leadership, no disrespect to them, shout out to them actually. But yes, I have not heard this from them. I have not heard this from any of these, even the NAACP, and I love all these people, but there's not a focus on any of these. I'm just using them as examples. No one is saying around 36 women of color, Latinas and Black women are being murdered in our metro area every year. From domestic violence, gang violence, mysterious homicides, all kinds of different things. We have we still have a gang violence issue with Black and Latino youth in Denver. Kids are getting murdered. Dozens of kids in Denver are getting shot or maimed every year. I'm not really hearing strong voices putting these kids together. Strong Black men and brown men saying, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to do this event. We're going to have 200 or 300 people in the park. We're going to take these kids here. I know there's organizations working around it, but I'm just not seeing the advocacy the way I thought it should be done, the way we lowered violence in Denver for 6 years, which is really like an old school model that I learned in working in Los Angeles. We weren't seeing that. I knew the candidates were going to run. I said, you know what? We got the Holly is popping, the book is popping, the film is dropping, it's doing good. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring, because even if I lose, at least I'm able to say these things about women being murdered, about youth. It's not safe in Denver. And I've worked in worse than Denver. Everyone watching this going to know there's worse places and cities in Denver. You don't want your daughter on the 5 points at midnight. You don't want that. You don't want your son to be hanging out with 50 Bloods in the Holly Square and they're partying. You don't want that. Just like you don't want your son hanging out in Detroit or LA or anywhere else, because there's a real good chance you might get that phone call. This is in Denver. Hundreds of parents have gotten that phone call, thousands now. But people aren't saying these things, So I was like, even if I lose, at least these things will be said, and they're going to be forced to have to see me on this stage addressing these things. And if they don't do it, they're going to have to deal with us possibly protesting, because protesting is not over. We just do that as a last resort. Because when we do it like that, if we have to show up, it's whatever might happen. We may be hurt. Somebody else could get hurt. Not to say we're going to hurt somebody, but we try not to get it that far. Because when it gets that far, we there, and the police is probably going to have to come get us.
It's interesting. You're the 17th mayoral candidate I've interviewed. You're the first to use the word poor.
Yeah.
What do you think that's about? We talk about the issues, but you're the one who's stressing that poverty is at the root of so many of these different issues. Why do you think that that's being avoided so much?
I think people are very nervous. I notice some of the candidates are nervous to talk about these things because you don't think of Denver as a city that is a poor city. You think of places like Philadelphia. You think of places like South Central Los Angeles or Watts or Compton. No, there's poverty here in Denver, and it's okay to say these things, especially if you want to be the CEO of the city. It's okay to be honest about what's affecting our constituency, or how can you address an issue that you're afraid to talk about because you're afraid to lose votes. It's okay to talk about the root causes of these issues. I'm not afraid to have that conversation. There are poor people in Denver.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the Holly?
So the Holly is an area in Northeast Park Hill where historical African-American community, because, you don't think of historical African-American communities in cities like Denver or Portland or Omaha, but we've had very historical communities and Latino communities here in Denver, starting with the 5 Points, extending east into Park Hill, then more recently, since like the 80s and 90s, Montbello, and now even Green Valley Ranches, where a lot of African-Americans out here live. So I grew up in Northeast Park Hill. My grandmother owned A&A Fish. Growing up there, even becoming a Blood there, my whole family being from there, and I have a lot of family from the 5 Points too. I just fell in love with the area. So when I went to prison and left the gangs, because I was fighting for the area, you know what I mean? I really wanted to do something better for it. I became an activist. We did the after-school program. The gang that I used to be from, some of the members, and this is my narrative. There's going to be people who say this is not the narrative they believe, but we have evidence of it. That's why there's a book and a film. So my narrative is some of the guys who I used to run with in the same gang were working for law enforcement, and they both colluded to dismantle my movement, which was the Camel movement and the Odom Hood movements. And they wanted me to really give them my space because I was getting a $5 million development done. And so I was attacked. I had to defend my life. I was charged with attempted murder. This journalist read about me in the New York Times. He grew up in Denver, but he was living in New York at the time. And he came out here. He didn't really know what he was going to find. He really wanted to do a book. That's why we got the book. He started on the book, but there was so much stuff happening around me getting threatened. My dad got shot at by these same guys who I had to shoot one of them to defend myself. He healed up. He's in prison right now for murdering a 2-year-old little girl. But when he healed up, he went to my dad's house and shot at my dad. Rest in peace to Terrance Roberts, which was my father, who just passed away from COVID. So this guy was writing this book and seeing all these things happening around him. He started getting threatened, so we started filming. And I already had like a plethora of different media things that I've done for interviews or stuff I filmed with Bloods and Crips with my own camera. And so we put all that together, and he directed the film. And I'm not a producer on the film. Or the director. This is an independent journalistic endeavor. But I did pretty much supply. There was conversation if I should be a producer or not, but I'm really happy that I'm not a producer because I needed this to be an independent journalistic endeavor to show what happened to me versus, oh, it's only Terrance's story. So this is an independent journalistic endeavor, but I really learned a lot about filmmaking, documentary filmmaking to be specific, and really media. But that's what The Holly is. It's really, it seems like a fast-paced scripted movie, but it's a verite doc where they follow me real time during my trial, leading up to my trial, and my activism when I got arrested in 2019 to 2020. So it's a film and a book. So The Holly is a historical area in Denver, but it's also the name of the book and the documentary talking about my life story and my self-defense.
Now, I remember The Holly. I grew up around that area, the Park Hill area, and thank you for everything that you put forward towards that. Also, won't you just let us know what motivated you to start building up in that location?
I mean, because growing up there, I love Park Hill because, see, in my mind, and, you know, like my dad lived in Oakland and San Francisco growing up, so I was going to the West Coast and you know, on my mom's side, our family's from Arkansas. And my little brother or sister's dad, he happened to be from Arkansas also. So we had like strong family ties in Arkansas. So if I wasn't going to Arkansas for summers, I was going to Oakland, and I'd be in the Bay Area because my dad, he was like pimping and whatever he was doing, using drugs, and he tells his own story. But what he did when he was alive. So when I was in the Bay Area, I'd be out there just roaming around with my cousins. It'd be 3 o'clock in the morning. Right. And we like on MacArthur Avenue, just in people's backyards and stuff, or like going up the hills and stuff, right? So, you know, going to California, going to Arkansas, I really fell in love with my own community. Like, you know, those places are like, there's not very many communities that are as dope and African-American centered as Oakland, California, East Oakland, West Oakland. But even seeing that there, I still was like, you know what, we got those same things here in Denver, like in Park Hill, but people don't want to say that. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Growing up, becoming a gang member, like that really strengthening. And I'm going to say this because I come against gang violence, but I understand why you become gang members, because there is a community pride there. When you hear your aunties, I'm growing up and my aunties are saying, like, we don't mess with them hoes over there across the boulevard. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or my aunt comes, you know, my cousin gets beat up because she went to a party by Manuel. And we weren't even Bloods or anything like that yet, but it just got tribal. You know, there's a lot of community pride in the 5 Points. There's a lot of community pride in Park Hill, Montbello, in Watts and Compton. And I developed that community pride for Park Hill, you know, like so much where we would fight, go to war about it, even in prison, wherever. That was our tribe. So when I left the gangs, I wanted to come home and just be like, man, I just want to come to Park Hill because I never snitched on anyone, or like I wasn't ran off from the gang. Right. And I was even in prison on the main line. Like all the Bloods still knew I cared about the community, but I'm not going to get into a fight with a bunch of Crips because some dummy done disrespected them at the visit or something. Like, that's not me. Yeah. But there's like 20 of y'all, like y'all can do that. Because I was doing that when it was 2 of us and 20 of them. You know what I'm saying? But now it's 20 of y'all. About 30 of them, like, y'all looking good, y'all healthy, so y'all go ahead. You know, and so like I kind of left the gang in an honorable fashion. Like I got an honorable discharge. Okay. So there was no reason for me not to come back to my own community. Like, why would I get an office downtown like some activists? Why would I get an office in Cherry Creek or somewhere when I grew up walking right through the Dahlia or the Holly. I grew up in the red bricks. Like I said, my granny owned A&A Fish Market. I lived on 29th and Birch, 29th and Pontiac, 29th and Olive, 35th and Ivanhoe. I lived on 33rd and Elm. So if I'm going to do community work, whether I end up having to defend my life or they kill me or whatever, because I could have gotten killed, like, I'm going to take it back to my community.
Yeah.
That's just like if you, like, I'm the type of person, like, if you're on the run, you take your wife and your kids with you, don't go on the run. Like, how you going to just leave your wife and your kids out there when, if it is that, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So now I took it back to Park Hill because that's my community. That's my tribe. And where else would I work? I didn't know where else to go anyways. I'm not from the 5 Points. Even though I wasn't the blood anymore, but still, I didn't want to be there every day. I don't know how safe I would have been or not, because they didn't know how serious I was about not being in the gang anymore. So I didn't know if I would be safe on the 5 Points. Later, I knew I was safe. I'm actually going to a baby shower today. Shout out to Julie and Keisha at for their baby shower. And all of those brothers and sisters are from that 5 Points East Side area too. However, when I first got out of prison, I did not know how they would receive me. You know, but I knew I could go to Park Hill and still get love.
Okay.
And so yeah, I just took it back to the hood. You know, why wouldn't? If you're familiar with the Holly, how it used to be, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got family still in the Bay. You don't want to be in East Oakland. It's a war zone. I've worked in Haiti. I've worked in Watts. I've seen worse in Denver. It was as bad as it could get over there sometimes. Like, dudes would just hop out with an Uzi and just spray the whole stuff. It'd be Crips just all day slide through there. Blood shooting at cars. Bloods fighting bloods. Like, girls fighting girls. All kinds of stuff is going on. And some days it may be nothing. And you go right through LA. It's a great sunny day, but you don't want to get caught up when it's the 100 and 200 Crips out and doing the projects.
Right. And
that's kind of how it was in the Holly Dance. Like, it's Denver, so it may seem cool, but you don't want to get caught in that drug deal or when those Crips come through shooting or those bloods shooting at someone's car who may not even be a rival. So the Crips ended up burning down the Holly. And when they burned it down, it was just sat there. It looked like Castle Grayskull. It was just this big, charred, huge shopping center that was literally just burnt up. And it was like people having sex in it and smoking dope in there. And it was crazy looking. And I was going back and forth to California. I'm like, nothing in LA looks like this.
Right.
Like, nothing looks like this. You know, so I was putting pressure on, at that time, Mayor Hickenlooper, to get it cleaned up. And what he did was got a guy named Terrance Roberts, who knew my father. He kind of like put Terrance on me. Like, here, Terrance, you go work with Terrance. But Terrance Roberts was serious about it because he liked my dad. They used to do martial arts together.
Okay.
And so he called the Urban Land Conservancy and asked them that if the city helped them, would they consider purchasing the land. They got it like really for dirt cheap for what it's worth now. And when they purchased it, they had to get it cleaned up because I was saying the city had to get it cleaned up because it had asbestos in it in the ceiling portions, and they were putting water on it on hot days. That's when you see them spraying buildings on hot days, that means it has asbestos in it. Because if it breaks, it could get particles could get airborne and you could get mesothelioma. Wow. That's the problem with asbestos. Okay. So the city was saying it's not their responsibility. The owner who had it when it was arson by the Crips were saying he couldn't afford it and it wasn't his responsibility. I'm putting pressure on Hickenlooper saying now it's a safety issue for the whole community because anybody could get a spore. You need one spore in your lung to get mesothelioma. It just grows a cyst in your lung and kills you. So it became a pretty big deal, started getting national attention. So when the Urban Land Conservancy purchased it with the help of the city, they had an obligation to get it cleaned up. So that was like my first political victory. Okay. Because they weren't going to do anything about it unless I started doing protests. That was my first protest was behind the Holly, actually. That's when I first bought my first bullhorn. Is when you see that protest we did walking from the church up Holly to the Holly. And I had that white bullhorn. So I bought that at Radio Shack, which doesn't even exist anymore. It was like $75, you know, I remember. So, and I just bought that because we didn't have a sound system. I was like, and I hadn't ever even known anyone who used a bullhorn for nothing. I was like, this will do sound.
Right,
you know
right.
And it kind of became my thing, you know what I mean? Because I have to stay mobile doing it how I do it, and I got to be able to talk, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that was my first bull. I didn't even know how to hold it because now I hold a bullhorn like this, and I just use the thing. But I had the whole bullhorn up, and I was like, man, my arm is tight. I was unhealthy too. I was chunky. I was like, man, I can't be doing this all day. So, but I learned how to use the bullhorn, and yeah, that's what happened. And you know, we got the development going, and first when they got cleaned up, it was just like a blank piece of paper. I actually had a dream about these basketball courts. So there's a picture of it on the film where I had a friend of mine who did my murals. Like I had the phoenix coming out of the flames and all that near the basketball courts. But I had this dream of these colorful basketball courts where it's really just a blank piece of paper. If we could get that done, it would just look beautiful, and then we could raise more money for developments like a youth center. That was my whole plan in the first place, and it worked. So when I had this vision of the dream, he drew it for me. Then I called John Aragoni, who was the president of the Boys and Girls Club for this region. Okay. He came from Atlanta, and I called him. I cold called him, and he answered. He was like, "Yeah, what's up?" He was like, "Who are you? What's up?" He was like, "I rarely answer my phone." I was like, "My name's Terrance Roberts. I'm from Northeast Park Hill. There's 9,000 people who live here, from 32nd up to 38th, and from Quebec to Carr Boulevard." So I give him all these tips. I said, out of these 9,000 people, there's hundreds of kids that are gang members. This is how many murders. And he was like, "No, it's not." It's like, I just came from Atlanta, and I know and Atlanta is rougher than Denver. But he was like, no, I know it's not that bad. I was like, no, you need to check these numbers. And he did. And he called me back. So he started presenting these numbers to his board people. Because I was like, there's no youth centers here. I was like, I want to build a youth center, but I don't have the resources to build a youth center, to build a building. So he was at his board meeting, and Libby Anschutz, the daughter of Philip Anschutz, who owns the Lakers, who started AEG Live, who was managing Michael Jackson when he passed. He's like worth $14 billion. He's the richest man in Colorado. His daughter, and he funded the hospital, the Children's Hospital, and the University Hospital on Colfax and Aurora. Okay. So this Philip Anschutz, his daughter Libby Anschutz, was on their board of directors, and she heard it, and she's like, "I want to go meet him." And she came to the Holly. This guy named Ted Harms, who was running their foundation, and John Aragoni. I came to my office one morning. It was 9 a.m. and I was running a few minutes late. And I walked in there, and they were literally looking at the picture I had my friend draw. And she asked me some questions. She was like, "You think it could look like this?" I was like, "Yeah, like for the money, like we can make it look like whatever we want, right? For however much money, you know what I mean?" So I walked her across the street, and there was like 20 Bloods over there. They were whistling at her and just joking, but playing. But you know, we didn't see very many white people in the Holly. There were literal, after the Crips burned down the Holly, this is no lie, there were tumbleweeds that were literally 5 feet high, like we were in the Wild Wild West, blowing through the Holly Square. It was a ghost town. It was our office, which at that time I opened with Senator Mike Johnston. Now he's Mayor Mike Johnston. We shared the office for 7 years. It was us in that office and the Bloods, who actually ended up attacking me years later across the street. It was only us there. So we got to know each other. The courts, I got the courts built. They gave us $5 million through the Boys and Girls Club, for the Boys and Girls Club to build the center. And so I managed both of those projects per se. But the courts were owned by my company, and I had my own lease in the Holly. And then the Boys and Girls Club had their own land use agreement as well. So yeah, that's how we put it together. I raised almost $500,000 to get the courts done. They were about $450,000, almost $500,000. We managed them. We got them built. The Nuggets gave us a lot of stuff. We just did a lot of fundraising. We called them the Peace Courts, and through that development project, we were able to lower violence in Denver for almost 7 years. Youth violence, domestic violence, and animal abuse too, which no one talks about as well. No one talks about animals, but that's a whole different topic too. But none of these things are talked about in the city of Denver. People want, even our leaders of color, they want this to be like a bougie town, but it's not as bougie as it comes off. And people don't want to talk about their you know, like they're in these organizations, but their son's a Crip, or they're in these organizations, but their daughter's boyfriend is some blood dude. He's doing this. People don't want to talk about that in Denver. In LA, you can't avoid it because everyone's sons or daughters. This is a tribal thing. But it's the same spirit here in Denver, and it has been that since the mid-'80s.
You think a lot of things are just swept up under the rug here?
I know Denver is a white-centered city. It is. But there's strong black people here. I love Park Hill. I love the 5 Points. And I love our historical Latino areas, too, like the north side, the west side. Like, Denver's a dope city. However, the people who we deem our leaders are part of fraternities or sororities that live on a more upper class than more lower class, what they would consider ignorant. A lot of it is ignorant. You're killing someone for wearing red and blue. We're not going to praise that activity. but you're still part of a family that still lives in the Five Points or Park Hill or from Chicago who deals with this. But you were smart enough to go to college and go to Howard or go to leave Denver and come back. But I think that out of our leadership, I mean, it is a white-centered city. Look at who the two people who were the front runners for mayor were. It was a white woman and a white man.
Yeah.
And I shared office with him. I raised $8 million in the Holly. Same African Americans who would not vote for me voted for the white man who was in the office with me. And we supported Mike in the end. Mainly because I didn't think Kelly had a good housing plan and I didn't like who was endorsing her from our community. But yeah, I think Denver showed that with our shrinking black and brown our brown population is growing with outsiders, and our black population is also getting a rebound, but it's not from people who were born and raised in Denver. We've been pushed out of Denver. So we've lost a lot of black people. Statistics show we're gaining some back, but these are black people from Texas, from California. They're not people who are so much like, oh, it's the 5 Points I fall in love. They're like, man, I'm from South Central. I don't. Great, the 5 Points. What is that? It's nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to us, it's not nothing. To us, it's something.
Yeah.
To us, it's our South Central. It's our, you know. So, but that's why I think people don't want to talk about it, because who wants to talk about, you know, the fact that in Denver you probably have to be a part of a fraternity or sorority, which I'm not against. They've done a lot for our people, but I'm just being honest. You have to be a part of those systems in order to even get a job from the mayor's office or to get acknowledged even in the city. Yeah. You know, Denver's a very cliquish city, and our leaders of color, that's not what they want to talk about.
That's a lot. That's a lot. You don't, when people do come here or when they do visit, they come here like for the skiing and mountains and all that other stuff. But, you know, when you speak of in such detail what actually goes on behind the scenes, but that's right in front of your face, it's just like, oh, okay, that's cap. You know, I'm not going to believe that because it's painted differently. Since your exoneration, what have you been up to since then? Are we still seeing you in the communities?
Yeah, but I do it differently. So before then, I was running my nonprofit. Now, I'm actually someone who I don't really believe. So I'm going to say I'm not against the nonprofit industrial complex, but that is what it is now. It's become employment for people, especially people of color in Denver, and it makes me sad to see that. Because most people who we say are our community leaders in Denver have to work through that nonprofit system. I've been there. And I've literally had board members tell me, like when Trayvon Martin got killed, I had one board member with the backing of a couple of other board members tell me like, don't talk about that. Like, that's not our focus. I'm like, no, it's my focus. No, our focus is to do the after school program. We don't really want to be out there looking like angry black people and all that. These were white people telling me this. I'm like, man, I'm going to do what I want to do. So if you don't want to be on my board, then you get off my board. Right. Like, it's time to change that anyways. Matter of fact, I don't care about none of this. Like, we can tear all this shit up. You know what I'm saying? So that's been more so of how I've always handled myself, and it's been for the better and for the worse. You know, but the way we're doing right now, man, it's working for us. I don't really want to have to raise money to speak against the same people who are giving me money. How can I call out racism from the Denver Foundation, which I still think is one of the most racist foundations in America? Shout out to Susie Q. Shout out to Bobby Lefebvre. I know they were poet laureates, and they like named a space after them for a certain period of time. Like, that's great stuff from the Denver Foundation. But that doesn't account for over $90 million annually. Annual means only 365 days you're giving out $93 million. But I don't see none of it. I don't see 93 million in the black community. I don't even see 2 million in the black community. I don't see 1 million. So I know organizations like Struggle to Love, they're raising money. They've become the big space. They're absorbing money. Great. I don't know what they do or don't do. So I'm not here to disrespect them. But like, we see that one nonprofit, they raised around $1 million. I've seen in the newspaper, maybe annually. They're to that point. But there's still tens of thousands of black people in Denver and in the metro area. Now there's dozens of nonprofits. So when I was running Prodigal Son, there wasn't so many. But now, since it's a bigger industry, there's more leaders. People see a paycheck in it, and some people have done better than I was able to do. They have different visions, and they make different connections, and they don't act like I act. And you know, they know how to dress and play that game. the nonprofit industry has been great for some people of color. But if you want to keep getting that $50,000 annually from the Denver Foundation, you better not criticize the Denver police, the current mayor, the past mayor, the senator. Matter of fact, just don't say nothing. Just don't say nothing. Or, because if we think you're acting like Terrance, we're not going to give you money. And this is, we have numbers to prove these things. It's fact, you could pull their 990. Any nonprofit, you could pull their 990 on your cell phone. You could pull it, and you can see how much money. So I'm not just slandering them. The Denver Foundation is one of the most prolific nonprofits when it comes to giving out money in America, but they're giving $93 million every year to who? And I still haven't gotten that question answered. So have I gotten alienated for asking that? Yes, because they do work with certain black leaders. But Denver is the second most gentrified city in the United States behind San Francisco. No one wants to talk about that. Everyone was partying. Everyone was a black leader or a brown leader. It looks great. Denver's dope. Like, we got dope parties and stuff. Like, it's a fun city. But when you say, well, how do we become the second most gentrified city in America? And how is this one foundation giving out $93 million? That's just one foundation. There's like 12, 13. There's plenty of foundations handing out money. But black leaders in Denver who are under that system are not only able to speak out like I am able to, because I'm a property inspector, I don't need a grant. We paid for 2019 and 2020. So they're not able to do the advocacy I'm able to do. And they're not even making any money. You don't make that much money off of a nonprofit. That's not your money. Some people are able to give themselves exorbitant salaries, but that's far few and in between of how many people of color have to live off of that nonprofit system. And so just my mentality right now was, if we didn't make it up, we don't do it. And we're not asking for we don't do no grant money. We can't make the signs ourselves. And we got 3 laws passed. Those laws I told you about earlier. Got a whole movie done, a whole book that made the long list of the Oscars. So the film made the long list. It could be 100 and some films on the long list. We made that list. We didn't make the short list. The short list is 5, the last 5. We didn't make the short list, but we're synonymous with the Oscars. We got all that done off of us paying for it our own selves, and we didn't have to ask for a grant and ask anyone's permission or be worried that some white people didn't like what I said on Fox 31.
Right.
And in my mind, if you can't advocate like that, how Martin Luther King did it, how Malcolm X did it, then, okay, we can't say you're not an activist, because back in the day, it used to be hard to be called an activist. But now everyone's an activist. Now I'm a revolutionary. Because if you can't do it like that, you're definitely not a revolutionary. Just like if you're scared to wear red or blue, you're not a blood or a crip, or if you're never been to jail or whatever, or if you're not arresting people, you're not a police officer. You can't say you're a revolutionary unless you do revolutionary things. And if you're controlled by any person who you have to protest against, you're an activist. Activism's great. Gang members are activists. Wife abusers somebody might choke their wife out at night, then hand out socks at the school because they're an activist.
Right.
Then we find out later when they get divorced, well, you was handing out socks, but you was all the time, man. You was kicking the dog. You done kicked the dog. You done killed the dog. Literally, your kids are scared. Right. So that's just how my mind is, and that's just how it is for me, and it works for me, and sometimes it doesn't. Like since 2020, not one African American organization has said thank you, Terrance, publicly, giving me an award. All those activists you see on the front page of the Denver Post with Elijah McClain, none of them were at any of our protests. Now they're with her. But when we got the work done for her and made her a millionaire, they were not there because it was funky and it was dangerous.
Right. So
now they're there doing this. But this ain't going to get us nowhere. This ain't nothing. Somebody slap your fist out the air. When I'm organizing, if I put Terrance Roberts' name on it, we trying to get a law passed. Somebody might get arrested if they the police, and we trying to get you millions of dollars. Or, I mean, there's other brothers and sisters who they're activists, and they can show it with you. And some of what I'm saying to you is maybe why there's trouble for me in the city with some groups of people, and I'm fine with that. Like, because what I'm saying to you and what's coming out of me is who I am, and I'm proud of myself. I like myself.
Yeah, well, you should be, though, because that takes warrior strength.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. That's like, they try to see the glitz and the glamour of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I get to be on TV and I get to say, you know, we can all.
It's the new rap.
We shall overcome. And
Activism's the new rap.
No, it's
You're a
not
rapper.
rap,
Even I was looking like a rapper. I had my bullhorn. What's up, y'all? Oh, hey, what's up, girl? Yeah. But you know, but I was doing the work, and I built that up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think locally, a lot of the stuff that and I'm not saying me, because hundreds of people helped me.
Mm-hmm.
But me being someone who had the bandanas and the bullhorn, and I'm dancing and I'm doing those things, I think there are some people who they probably think it's more glamorous than it is, and they see me in this film and stuff. But it was hard to get that stuff done.
Yeah.
And you know, the film did not. People think I'm rich off the film. No, I'm not rich. Like, it costs a lot of money to. That's not my film. I'm the protagonist of the film, and the film lost money. I don't mind saying it. We've said it publicly, but it got millions of people watching it. So, you know, so has it set me up for other endeavors? Yes. But that's journalism about what happened to me. So activism is not glitz and glamour. And if you do want to get that $1 million a year budget and make that money, just be careful what you say. Because if your rent and your marriage and your kids getting clothes and shoes is tied to your activism, don't piss off the funders, because you'd be stupid to bite the hand that feeds you. That's my advice to all the activists. Be careful.
Yeah.
Me, I work a job. Christabel Guevara, who's here with me, she works a job. She's a big time community organizer for the Black and Latino community. But if we can't pay for it ourselves, it shouldn't cost a grant for me to come protest for your son or daughter being murdered on TV.
Right.
I shouldn't have to be scared to stand up for you, but I'm on TV like I'm a community leader. And the way I've done it has actually made me a lot of enemies, and these community leaders actually are really like people. But then it just takes me to what Jesus said about if you're really loved by these political people in your own city, you're probably not a prophet. And I've never said I'm a prophet. I don't want to put any labels like that, but I will put a label. I am a revolutionary, though.
Yeah.
Just same like our ancestors had signs saying, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a revolutionary. That's my style of activism. Not so much, well, I'm going to advocate with my suit on. And I look good in the suit, too. I just ran for mayor. I wore a suit 100 times. No one talk crap about how I look in the suit. But if I'm doing advocacy work, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I'm praying we make it home that night. So
I get it.
For your son or your daughter.
Right.
If I'm out there like that, something bad has happened. And we don't have time to be playing games with community leaders. I'm the guy when the community leader gets scared to say it. And if I feel like going out there, and if we meet about it with FPRA, which is Frontline Party, if we put our heads together and say, we out there, somebody's going to know about your son or your daughter. We can't force them to do anything politically, but they're going to want to do what we tell them to do. Yeah. If they're smart, they're going to do what we say.
You're going to use your voice.
We're going to use our voice, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, there's no power like people power. No drug dealers, Bloods, Crips.
Exactly.
They're powerful to people who are afraid of them in that moment. But when the people really get together, there's no power like people power.
Right. And
if you don't have people power, they're going to laugh at. They were laughing at Elijah McClain. Literally laughing at him. Cops were getting reprimanded for acting like they were doing a karate chokehold on him. They were wearing I Can Breathe shirts. After this young man was tortured, brutalized. People have gone to prison now for killing him. But before we did our actions, which they didn't even get charged till 2020. They made fun of him in 2019. Before we did our actions, they were making fun of him. They didn't care about no community leaders, no black leaders. They wasn't scared of no NAACP, no urban leadership, no black mayor. They wasn't scared of none of that until we pulled up with black people, brown people, lots of white people, Asians, until they seen that. And we're like, we're not stopping. So now it's a thing now. So, because now my name's on it. Now I'm going to do, because now my daughter's son's name is on it. So, so we pulling up. Until they seen that, they would have still been making fun of Elijah McClain. So if you're from Denver, you want to be activist, just, if you watch this show, activism and revolutionary actions, two different things.
Wow. I'm sorry. It's just when you think of people making fun of a situation and they're not even thinking about the families or if they were in those shoes, you know what I mean? and for you to mock that you brutally murdered someone, it's just ridiculous. So
it was so disrespectful. We couldn't believe it. They forced us to act the way we acted in 2019 and 2020 because they kept making fun of him. And even though our movements were growing, they were like, we don't care. It's only in Aurora. Like, who cares about Aurora? And at that time, they were right. Nobody did. But when George Floyd got killed, and we had all that media downtown, that's how we got. No one knew about Elijah McClain until after George Floyd was murdered. You know, so and that's when we said, well, if you want to work with the organizers who organized this downtown, we're going to Aurora. Now you could stay down here with the Avalanche and the Nuggets, because once Mayor Hancock and all them started showing up, we was like, this by shot. We're trying to do something revolutionary. We're not trying to be arms linked for the media and all that. No, what happened to Elijah? Look at what happened to him. George Floyd was 8 minutes and 48 seconds. Elijah McClain was almost 16 minutes. And so once certain media people, even people who helped out with the Holly and everything, once they started seeing what I was involved in and started seeing that stuff, we had a lot of media people from all over saying, we're going to go over to Aurora and work with this group. And now Elijah McClain's name is just as synonymous as George Floyd's or Breonna Taylor's. Even in some spaces, even more so. You know, so yeah, that's how we do it. And that's how we'll continue to do it if we have to. Hopefully we don't have to. But if we do, that's how we're going to get it done.
So if anyone wants to would like to support, where can they contact?
They can just hit me up on Instagram, T-Rob the Realist, does T-H-A, not T-H-E. But if you put Terrance Roberts in there, you'll see me. I have a gray suit on with like a white tie. I'm not collecting money. I don't run a nonprofit. I'm not running for office right now. I don't need any donations. Just hop on my Instagram, really. And if you see me post, hey, I'm gonna be here, or support this at that time, support. But right now I'm working. I run Gas Station Media. I'm the CEO. Christabel's the president. If you have media projects that you need to get done, like, it's not a nonprofit. I'm not volunteering my services. But if you're working on a documentary film, you need to organize your media stuff. If you're looking, even if you need to consult with me, I've been featured in the media from the New York Times, Huffington Post, local stuff, Oscar nomination articles over 100 times. I've helped plenty CEOs out of sticky situations. I've been in some really bad situations looking at life in prison, having to deal with the national media. So I understand and I know a lot of reporters. So I've consulted with people even around their media appearances. So, you know, all of those different things, you know, we can help you get that stuff done. And I'm a property inspector, but I do property consulting too. So just so you know, you don't have to get a home inspector. You don't have to pay someone who's probably a racist person $300 or $400 if you're buying or selling your home. You can just call me and I can consult with you. It'll take me 1 hour to let you know. It doesn't take long I've been an inspector for 8 years. I'm infrared certified. I'm GSA certified to do government buildings. And I've done thousands of properties, residential or commercial. So if you want to save some money and have somebody who cares about people of color, and I do it for white people too, of course, but most inspectors in Denver are Caucasian males who do not live in inner city Denver, that do not care anything about black women, black men, Latino. They don't have no black friends. They come in to get your $300-400, give you a to-do list. Because really, if your structural is messed up, your plumbing, your electrical, that's what you need to be worried about. You don't need an inspector telling you your carpet's dirty. But if I'm doing a home inspection, yes, you're going to pay me to tell you your carpet's dirty. And you're going to pay me to tell you that you need to paint your walls. Because after you move out, you've got holes in the wall, of course. So I'm not worried about that stuff. I'm going to come tell you within an hour to save you money, don't buy this house. Or, yeah, this is a great house, but get these things fixed. So property consultation, you can hire me. I'm not asking for any donations. You can hire me for that. Or if you need media work done at whatever level, if we can't do it, I know the best people in the industry will help you get it done.
That's what's up.
Hit me up on Instagram.
Yeah. Hit them up. Is there any advice that you'd like to give to the youth watching?
Yeah. Be your own person. It's okay to, even if you're in a gang-infested community, the most successful African Americans and Latinos are actually from some of the worst communities: Los Angeles, New York City, Chicago. And they navigated through that stuff. And you can too. Like, you don't have to join a gang in order to be respected. You know, if you want to be a rapper, you don't have to rap about murdering people. You don't have to twerk and show your breast and all that stuff. If you want to be a female, like where are the revolutionary women rappers? Like I like Cardi B and all of them. Like I use her music on all my stories and stuff like that. I like Nicki Minaj. I'm not knocking Sexy Red or none of them, but I'm just telling the youth, those are grown women. I'm talking to kids right now, and young adults. Like you don't have to do that stuff, because really what does come with that stuff is have some tough skin. If you want to be a gangster rapper, don't get scared when you're at the concert or understand, like, be scared. But if it's 20 other rap groups and they're gangsters too, because some, they looking for something tough to put on their Instagram, and you may be on the menu. So do you really want that for yourself? Like, who really wants to? And trust me, I was a gangster. I've been shot more than once. I've been paralyzed. I've had physical therapy at Craig Medical Center. I did 11 years in prison. I know about gangbanging. I have weapons cases. I've carried Uzis. I've been caught with guns. I've done prison time for weapons. I've had over 100 fist fights. I got scars on my knuckles still. Like, you don't want to live that life. Just trust me, man. Just be smart, be handsome, be likable, be smart. I mean, I said be smart, but be personable, and just get your vision done. Start your own clique. Start your own group. Don't start a gang, but be your own person, man. That's my advice. I've already promised myself I'll never join no one else's gang, clique, none of that. If I don't start it myself, I'm not a part of it.
Facts.
And if I can't come to the cookout and all that, cool. Because obviously I'm not welcome there. Because I get invited to plenty of things. Like, and don't worry about if you're young not getting invited. Because guess where people get shot and killed and paralyzed and punched in the face is at the barbecue, at the club, at the gathering. Don't alienate yourself, but you don't need to be around negativity to be somebody. All of my successes in life came from me being a positive person. The money's in being positive.
There you go.
So, the long-term money. And that's my advice to y'all. Just be smart and be cool. It's all right to be cool.
That's manifesting in the moment.
$2 million. So in Jesus, in Yeshua's name, I'm manifesting $2 million. However, if he don't feel like giving me that right now, because it's his choice, I'm just working, man. We got a few media projects we're working on. We're trying to get the Holly. We're working on getting a scripted series for the Holly. So I'm working on that. I've never sold my life rights. I just got a contract for a show that I may do on another big platform. I don't want to say the name of the show. I'm under NDA, but I can say the network is with MTV.
Okay.
We'll see if I do that show or not, because really I don't need to do a show on MTV. But it'll be cool if I do, But if the terms aren't right, then I'm not just signing anything, because I don't need that.
Right.
I already have a film, a book, and it's doing great. So really the biggest thing I'm working on is not only working on other people's individual projects like the Monty Jonesy show. We're working on getting funding for his production, which we think we got the funding, but we'll see. It hasn't landed yet, you know what I'm saying? So his movie just came out, Soul, with Trader Truth. They're doing good. They are #1 on Tubi, or they were, I don't know, but last I heard they were #1 on Tubi. So he has his own scripted comedy show coming out, the Monty Jonesy show, so we're working with him. We got several projects we're working on, so we're in pre-production for some stuff, and trying to get our own Holly show scripted as a series as well. So just working on some media stuff, and doing these inspections and keeping my head low. And I'm a vegan now.
Okay, so, look at you.
Yeah, I'm trying. The shirt used to fit a little different, but I'm almost 48, man. And my dad passed away from COVID, but he was diabetic. And my grandmother on my mom's side died of diabetes too. So I have diabetes on both sides of my family. And like anything I eat, I start seeing it. I can even feel it. Like I can feel it when my face is a little, because there's having fat on your body, but also if you're eating the wrong things, it's also gonna give you inflammation. And you can see it in someone's face. Sometimes it's not just fat. Sometimes it's like your skin is inflamed, and you don't understand all that.
Right.
But once you start fasting and start eating more vegetables and not eating things that inflame you, you can start seeing your face small. It's not just fat. It's inflammation where your face isn't so pudgy. Because if you want to look younger, you want to be healthier. That's how you're going to look younger and feel better. You look older, even if you look grumpier, is even looking older. You know what I mean? So just really trying to get my countenance up, trying to be more of a nicer person, more of a calm person. I've been an out of control person before. I know what that's like, where I was like, I don't care about nothing. I don't care what no one thinks, nothing. Like, and it got a lot of work done, and it's really hurt me too, you know. So I just want to be just a chill, older, wiser brother in the back, man. Now, if someone recognizes me or they know who I am, like, cool, I accept that. But other than that, I'm trying to really be wise in the fact that I'm healthy. I'm 80 years old. I still look like I'm 50 or 60 when I'm 80. Right, my daughters and my kids are all grown. My grandkids is grown. And I'm still there with my kids. That's the goal. That's the manifestation right there. Okay. However we get there, whether it's films, movies, or none of that manifest, the true manifestation is being alive and healthy when my kids and grandkids are alive and healthy. So everything else is for fun and just to get there. So
I appreciate you.
All right. No
Love
problem.
and light on your journey. It's been another episode of Let's Talk with Empress Pre. Here with Mr. Terrance Roberts. We out.
Tap in.
We've heard about gangster rappers. We've heard about gangsters. We've heard about politicians. But right now, activism is huge. Revolutionary action is huge. And people need to see that side of the story, too. Not just the police side, but people need to see what people like myself, who are community organizers, are going through to get Senate Bill 217 passed, to get the justice for Elijah McClain, for George Floyd. They need to see the behind the scenes of what it takes to get those actions complete.
My grandmother always said, you gotta crawl before you walk. And now that I'm walking, my feet won't fail me now. Travel through life and reach an awakening. The journey's been cold, it's time for a reckoning. Abandonment issues kept pulling on my heartstrings. I fired back by accepting what you love would bring. They saw the beauty but try to change it into the epitome of their illusion, creating what our distance be. Calling me funny type cause they don't have access now. And petty's my title cause I refuse to bow down. Hold up, I was surviving when their presence was unknown. Exiled and broken but my will remains strong. I'm not allowing my failures to get the best of me, or the stigma of fear to define my destiny. Covered in ashes when they left me bleeding as rise of the phoenix, forever succeeding. I'm keeping on grinding, my energy's rising. Transitional crashes no longer surprising. I gave it to source, the old me is dead. Destroying all curses, I live by the bread. I'm holding my head up, I'm standing my ground. The empress arrived, the loss has been found.